The discovery. The quantum sensors aboard the RSS Curiosity lit up like a Christmas tree, their readings so intense that Dr. Maya Patil initially thought there must be a malfunction. The research vessel's state-of-the-art detection systems were designed to analyze spatial anomalies at the edge of known space, not set off every alarm simultaneously. "Computer, run full diagnostic," Maya ordered, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display that filled the bridge with an eerie blue glow. She absently tucked a strand of graying hair behind her ear, a habit from her 30 years of scientific research that surfaced whenever she encountered something truly unprecedented. Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning within normal parameters. The ship's AI responded in its characteristic neutral tone. Warning. Unknown energy signatures detected at bearing 227 Mark 045. Scale exceeds standard measurement protocols. Maya frowned, pulling up the raw data streams. As lead researcher for humanity's deep space phenomenon study, she had personally calibrated these sensors to detect the faintest quantum fluctuations across light years of space. For them to be overwhelmed meant something massive was out there. "Lieutenant Chen, bring us about. Let's get a visual on whatever's causing these readings." The young navigator nodded, his hands dancing across the control interface. The Curiosity responded smoothly, its experimental quantum drive allowing for precise maneuvers that would have been impossible with conventional propulsion. As the ship turned, the vast emptiness of space gradually revealed something that made Maya's breath catch in her throat. A tear in space itself hung before them, a massive rupture in the fabric of reality that pulsed with otherworldly energy. But that wasn't what caused Maya's heart to race. Emerging from the rift was a fleet of ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. Their designs were alien, all sharp angles and crystalline surfaces that seemed to drink in the light from nearby stars. "My God," Maya whispered. "Computer, begin full spectrum analysis and maintain passive scanning only. Lieutenant, power down all non-essential systems. We don't want to draw attention to ourselves." But it was too late. The massive fleet had already begun to change formation, their movements too precise and coordinated to be coincidental. They were reacting to the Curiosity's presence. "Dr. Patel," the computer's voice carried an unusual note of urgency. "Analysis indicates weapons systems powering up across multiple vessels. Energy signatures match no known configurations in database, but output levels suggest destructive capability exceeding all recorded human weapons by several orders of magnitude." Maya's mind raced. The Curiosity was a research vessel, not a warship. Their only defense was the experimental quantum drive that powered their engines and sensors. But that drive represented humanity's greatest scientific achievement, and perhaps their only advantage. "Lieutenant, prepare for emergency quantum jump. Plot a course that will lead these ships away from Earth's sector." Maya's voice was steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "Computer, begin recording all sensor data and prepare for tight beam transmission to Earth Command on my mark." A harsh alien signal cut through their communication system, resolving itself into a message that made Maya's blood run cold. "Primitive vessel detected. Species classification: human. Threat assessment: minimal. Commence immediate termination to prevent contamination of Harveststone." The first energy weapon fired, a beam of impossible power that would have vaporized the Curiosity instantly if Lieutenant Chen hadn't already been executing evasive maneuvers. The quantum drive responded instantly, allowing the small research vessel to move in ways that seemed to defy physics itself. "Computer, analyze that weapon signature. There has to be something we can use, something we can learn." Maya called out as more beams lanced through space where they had been moments before. She had spent her life studying the fundamentals of spacetime, and she refused to believe that even these advanced aliens had developed something that couldn't be understood. The computer's response was immediate. Analysis complete. Enemy weapons utilize controlled quantum collapse to generate destructive effects. Notable similarity to theoretical principles underlying our quantum drive detected. Maya's eyes widened as understanding struck her. The aliens' superior technology was based on the same principles they had just begun to grasp with their quantum drive. But where the aliens had weaponized it, humanity had focused on understanding and manipulation of space-time itself. Lieutenant, maintain evasive pattern but prepare for my mark. Computer, divert all power to the quantum drive and reconfigure for maximum spatial distortion. Maya's fingers flew across her console as she input calculations that would have taken other scientists weeks to complete. The alien fleet was closing in, their weapons becoming more precise with each shot. They clearly expected this to be a simple execution, not a fight. Maya allowed herself a grim smile as her calculations finished. Sometimes the greatest advantage wasn't superior firepower, but simply understanding something your enemy thought impossible. Now, Maya shouted. The Curiosity's quantum drive engaged at full power, but instead of jumping to safety, it created a controlled distortion in the fabric of space-time itself. The effect rippled outward, catching the nearest alien ships in its field. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then physics itself seemed to rebel. The alien vessel's weapon systems began to overload, their quantum-based technology turning against them as the Curiosity's spatial distortion interfered with their fundamental operations. Explosions began to chain through their fleet as ships lost containment of their own power systems. Get us out of here, maximum speed, Maya ordered as the chaos spread. The Curiosity jumped away just as the cascade of failures reached the alien fleet's flagship, turning it into a new sun that briefly outshone everything else in this sector of space. As they raced back toward Earth, Maya knew this was only the beginning. They had survived and learned something crucial about their new enemy, but the aliens' transmission had mentioned a harvest zone. Whatever their purposes were, Earth was clearly in danger. Computer, prepare that tight beam transmission to Earth Command. Include all sensor data and my preliminary analysis. Maya's voice was grim as she watched the last echoes of the quantum detonation fade behind them. They need to know what's coming, and they need to know we can fight back. The Curiosity sped toward home, carrying with it humanity's first warning of the war to come, and perhaps their only hope of survival. The last stand. The mood in Earth Command's underground facility was tense as Dr. Maya Patil finished presenting her findings. The assembled military and scientific leaders sat in stunned silence, processing the implications of what they'd just learned. The holographic display still showed the alien fleet's devastating weapons in action, a sobering reminder of what they faced. Let me be clear, General Marcus Rodriguez finally spoke, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic glow. You're saying these aliens possess technology centuries beyond ours, but their fundamental understanding of quantum mechanics might be more limited than our own. Maya nodded, pulling up the sensor data from the Curiosity's encounter. They've weaponized quantum principles without fully understanding them. It's like they're following a cookbook without knowing the underlying chemistry. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also rigid, predictable. That's fascinating, Doctor. Admiral Sarah Chen interrupted. But how does this help us? The second fleet you detected is 3 times larger than the first, and they'll reach Earth in less than 72 hours. Maya touched her console, bringing up a new simulation. Because we can use their own power against them. The Curiosity's quantum drive isn't just an engine. It's a tool for manipulating space-time itself. If we can scale up what we did to that first fleet. She was interrupted by emergency alerts blaring through the facility. A young officer burst into the room, face pale. The alien fleet just jumped into the system. They're already past Neptune's orbit. The room erupted in chaos, but Maya's voice cut through the noise. They're earlier than expected. General, I need the Curiosity cleared for immediate launch and access to Earth's quantum research network. Rodriguez studied her for a moment before nodding sharply. Done. But Doctor, you realize this is probably a one-way mission. Maya thought of her laboratory at MIT, Her students, the quiet life of research she'd led before all this. Some questions are worth dying to answer, General. Within an hour, the Curiosity was powering up, its systems humming with energy from the combined output of Earth's quantum research facilities. Maya had pulled Lieutenant Chen from the defense briefings. She needed the best pilot available for what she had planned. "Doctor," the ship's eye spoke as they cleared the atmosphere. "I've integrated the new quantum protocols, but the power levels you're proposing exceed all safety parameters." "Safety parameters assume we want the ship to survive." "Computer," Maya replied, fingers dancing across her console as she made final adjustments. "Today, we just need to prove a theory." The alien fleet filled their view screen, thousands of massive ships arranged in perfect geometric formations. Their crystalline hulls reflected sunlight like artificial stars, beautiful and terrifying. A transmission cut through their communications. "Primitive species, your resistance is noted. Your understanding of quantum principles is impressive, but limited. Surrender now, and your species' knowledge will be preserved in our archives before harvest." Maya opened a channel to respond, her voice steady. "This is Dr. Maya Patil of Earth. We're transmitting a mathematical proof we'd like you to analyze. Consider it our species' contribution to your archives." She nodded to Lieutenant Chen, who began their approach. The alien fleet's weapons powered up, but they held their fire, presumably analyzing the complex quantum mathematics Maya was transmitting. It was legitimate research. Her lights work on quantum field interactions, but it wasn't the real threat. "Doctor," the computer warned, "enemy sensors are detecting our power buildup. They're preparing to fire." "Good," Maya smiled. "That means their weapons are at full power too. Execute Program Prometheus." The Curiosity's quantum drive engaged, but instead of creating a localized distortion like before, it established a complex resonance pattern. Maya had spent the past 3 days combining her research with the sensor data from their first encounter. The aliens' weapons used quantum collapse in a controlled, limited way. Her plan was to remove those limitations. The first alien shots fired, lancing toward the Curiosity with enough power to vaporize a continent. But as they entered the quantum resonance field, something extraordinary happened. The beams began to twist, caught in cascading spatial distortions that fed back into the ships that fired them. "Full power to the field," Maya ordered as warnings blared across every console. The Curiosity's hull groaned under the strain, but the effect was spreading. Each alien weapon that fired added to the cascade, creating a chain reaction of quantum feedback that their rigid systems couldn't adapt to. Ships began to break apart, their own energy turning against them. The perfect formations dissolved into chaos as vessel after vessel succumbed to uncontrolled quantum collapse. The aliens tried to retreat, but their quantum-based propulsion systems only accelerated the effect. "Hull integrity failing," the computer reported calmly. "Primary systems critical. Quantum drive approaching catastrophic overload." Maya watched as the alien fleet destroyed itself, their superior technology becoming their greatest weakness. "Lieutenant, transmit all sensor data to Earth Command. Let them know this worked exactly as predicted." The Curiosity's bridge was bathed in warning lights as systems failed one by one. Lieutenant Chen turned to Maya, understanding in his eyes. "It's been an honor, Doctor." "The honor was mine," Maya replied, watching the last alien ships disappear in quantum fire. "Computer, divert all remaining power to the resonance field. Let's make sure we finish this." The Curiosity's quantum drive went critical, expanding the cascade effect to its maximum reach. In its final moments, the small research vessel proved that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or firepower, but understanding. The alien fleet, for all its power, never had a chance against human curiosity and insight. As the quantum cascade reached its peak, Maya thought she saw something in the patterns of destruction. A glimpse of deeper physics, a new understanding of reality itself. Her last act was to key in a final burst transmission to Earth, sharing what she saw in that moment of transcendence. The curiosity disappeared in a flash of light that temporarily outshone the sun, taking the remains of the alien fleet with it. But Maya Patel's final transmission would change humanity's understanding of the universe forever, ensuring that Earth would be ready the next time they faced such a threat. In the end, it wasn't humanity's weapons that saved Earth, but our endless drive to understand, to question, and to push the boundaries of knowledge. The aliens had mastered quantum technology, but humans had done something far more powerful. We had mastered quantum understanding. The hidden advantage. 3 months after the Curiosity's sacrifice, Dr. James Chen sat in his sister's old apartment, surrounded by holographic displays showing Maya Patel's final transmission. As humanity's leading quantum physicist after Maya's death, he had been tasked with decoding the massive burst of data sent in the battle's last moments. But after weeks of analysis, he was beginning to suspect this was more than just scientific data. The hidden advantage. 3 months after the Curiosity's sacrifice, Dr. James Chen sat in his sister's old apartment, surrounded by holographic displays showing Maya Patel's final transmission. As humanity's leading quantum physicist after Maya's death, he had been tasked with decoding the massive burst of data sent in the battle's last moments. But after weeks of analysis, he was beginning to suspect this was more than just scientific data. "Play it again," he instructed the AI assistant he brought from his lab. The quantum patterns from the Curiosity's final moments filled the room, a dance of energy and information that seemed to hint at something just beyond comprehension. "Dr. Chen," the AI spoke, "I've detected a pattern within the quantum resonance signatures. They appear to match theoretical models of consciousness transfer across quantum states." James froze, his cup of coffee halfway to his lips. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, highlighting subtle patterns within the chaos of the battle's final moments. As the Curiosity's quantum drive had overloaded, it hadn't just destroyed the alien fleet. It had done something unprecedented to the fabric of space-time itself. Cross-reference with Maya's original research on quantum consciousness, James ordered, his heart racing. His sister's pilot had died helping Maya save Earth, but now James wondered if death was the right word for what had happened. The AI's response was immediate. "Match found." Dr. Patel's final transmission contains embedded neural patterns consistent with her theories on quantum consciousness preservation. Additional data suggests successful transfer of multiple consciousness signatures into the quantum substrate of local spacetime. James sat back, mind reeling at the implications. Maya hadn't just destroyed the alien fleet. She had discovered something fundamental about consciousness itself, proving her controversial theories about the quantum nature of human awareness. And in those final moments, she had somehow preserved herself and her crew within the quantum fabric of space itself. A priority alert interrupted his thoughts. "Dr. Chen, you're needed at Earth Command immediately. Long-range sensors have detected unusual quantum signatures approaching the solar system." The journey to the underground facility was a blur. James found himself in the same briefing room where Maya had presented her findings months ago. But now he was the one standing before Earth's leaders with an incredible theory. "The aliens weren't trying to harvest our resources or our planet," James explained, pulling up the decoded data. "They were hunting consciousness itself. Their rigid, mechanistic approach to quantum physics made them blind to what we discovered by accident, that consciousness can exist within the quantum fabric of spacetime." He showed them the patterns from the Curiosity's final transmission. "My sister, Lieutenant Chen, and Dr. Patel didn't die in that battle. They transcended. Their consciousness became part of something larger, something the aliens have been seeking but could never achieve with their limited understanding." General Rodriguez leaned forward, his expression grave. "And the new quantum signatures we're detecting?" "They're not new aliens," James replied, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. "The patterns match the Curiosity's crew. They're coming back, but not as we knew them. They've learned to exist as pure consciousness within the quantum field, and they're bringing knowledge that will change everything." The room erupted in questions, But James held up his hand. There's more. The aliens' rigid technology wasn't just a weakness in battle. It was a fundamental flaw in their understanding of reality. They saw the universe as something to be conquered and controlled, but humanity's approach of seeking to understand, rather than dominate, led us to discover what they never could. He brought up new simulations based on Maya's final data. The quantum field isn't just a medium for faster-than-light travel or weapon systems. It's the foundation of consciousness itself, and humanity's intuitive grasp of this principle is what makes us unique. We weren't primitive at all. We were just approaching the universe in a completely different way. The sensors tracking the approaching quantum signatures lit up, showing them moving in ways that defied conventional physics. Dr. Patel and her crew aren't just returning, James explained. They're going to teach us how to follow them. The aliens sought to harvest consciousness, but we've learned how to elevate it naturally through understanding and insight. A transmission cut through their systems, carrying a familiar voice that brought tears to James's eyes. Earth Command, this is Dr. Maya Patel, or what used to be Dr. Maya Patel. Request permission to share what we've learned about the true nature of reality. The room fell silent as Maya's consciousness, now existing as a pattern in the quantum field, began to explain what she had discovered in the moment of transcendence. The aliens' defeat hadn't just saved Earth. It had opened the door to humanity's next evolutionary step. As James listened to his mentor describe realities he had only theorized about, he understood that the real hidden advantage hadn't been humanity's scientific knowledge or our ability to improvise. It had been our willingness to question, to explore, and to see the universe not as something to be conquered, but as something to be understood. The curiosity's sacrifice hadn't been an ending, it had been a beginning. Humanity was about to embark on an adventure that would redefine not just our place in the universe, but the very nature of existence itself. The counterstrike. The Quantum Consciousness Laboratory, deep beneath MIT's campus, hummed with energy as Dr. James Chen prepared for humanity's most ambitious experiment yet. 1 year after Maya's return as a quantum state being, the project she had dubbed Ascension Protocol was ready for its first human trial. Neural interface online, the lab's AI announced. Quantum field stabilized. Consciousness mapping at optimal levels. James took a deep breath, looking at the assembled team of scientists and military observers. The chamber before them contained a single chair surrounded by quantum field generators. Technology reverse-engineered from Maya's transcendent insights. Begin recording, James ordered. This is the first controlled attempt at conscious quantum state transition. Unlike the spontaneous transcendence achieved by the Curiosity's crew, we're attempting to guide a human consciousness into the quantum substrate while maintaining full awareness and control. The volunteer, Dr. Sarah Martinez, sat calmly in the chair. As Earth's leading expert in quantum neurology, she had helped design the very equipment that would attempt to elevate her consciousness to a new state of existence. Ready when you are, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. Let's make history. James initiated the sequence, and the quantum field generators spun up to full power. The air itself seemed to shimmer as reality bent around the experimental chamber. Sarah's body remained still, but sensors showed her consciousness beginning to resonate with the quantum field. A familiar pattern of energy appeared in the lab, Maya's quantum signature. She had insisted on being present for this attempt, her consciousness manifesting as a subtle distortion in space-time that only the most sensitive instruments could detect. The quantum field is accepting the consciousness transfer. Maya's voice came through their systems. Sarah's neural patterns are maintaining coherence. This is already more control than what we achieved by accident. The lab's instruments recorded everything as Sarah's consciousness began to separate from its physical form, spreading into the quantum substrate that underlaid all of reality. Her body remained unchanged, but sensors showed her awareness expanding beyond its normal boundaries. I can see it, Sarah's voice whispered, though her physical lips didn't move. The patterns, the connections, everything is linked through the quantum field. We were never separate at all. James watched the readings with growing excitement. They were proving that human consciousness could transition deliberately into a quantum state, maintaining identity while transcending physical limitations. But more importantly, they were doing it without the desperate circumstances that had forced the Curiosity's transformation. Suddenly, alarms blared across every system. Multiple quantum distortions detected. The AI warned. Similar to alien fleet signatures, but different. The lab's security systems activated as space itself seemed to twist. But instead of alien ships, the distortions resolved into consciousness patterns. Dozens of them, similar to Maya's but distinctly alien in nature. Hold position. Maya's voice carried new authority. They're not hostile. They're refugees. The alien consciousness patterns clustered around Sarah's transitioning form, their quantum signatures resonating with her expanding awareness. Through the lab's sensors, James could detect complex information exchanges occurring at the quantum level. They're like us, Sarah's disembodied voice explained, filled with wonder. Individuals from the Empire who tried to understand rather than control. They'd been hiding in the quantum field, watching, waiting for another species to discover the truth. Maya's pattern moved closer to the aliens. They were branded heretics by their own kind, forced to flee into the quantum realm. Everything their civilization built was based on dominating quantum physics, but these few saw it as something to comprehend and unite with. James understood the implications immediately. The alien empire hadn't just been hunting consciousness. They had been hunting their own enlightened dissidents, beings who had discovered the same truths humanity was now uncovering. The Empire fears this knowledge. One of the alien patterns communicated through the lab's systems. They built their power on controlling quantum energy, forcing it to serve their will. The truth, that consciousness itself is quantum in nature and can transcend physical form, threatens everything they believe. Sarah's consciousness had fully transitioned now, her pattern joining Maya's and the alien refugees in the quantum field, while her body sat peacefully in the chamber. They're sharing their knowledge, she reported. Centuries of understanding about quantum consciousness. But they never had what we have. What's that? James asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. The ability to bridge both worlds, Maya explained. To exist in both physical and quantum states, to transition back and forth at will. Their rigid ideology meant they could only choose one state or the other. But humanity's flexibility, our drive to understand rather than control, lets us transcend that limitation. The lad was silent as the implications sank in. They hadn't just discovered a new state of being. They had found allies who had been waiting for a species capable of uniting the physical and quantum realms. We need to accelerate the program, James decided, looking at the assembled scientists. Not just for our protection, but because we have a responsibility now. We can be the bridge between worlds, helping others achieve transcendence without having to abandon their physical forms. The alien refugees shared more of their story, how the Empire had spread across galaxies, harvesting consciousness in a twisted attempt to prevent what they saw as a dangerous evolution. But in doing so, they had driven their own enlightened members into hiding, forcing them to await a species that could change everything. The Empire will return, Maya warned. But this time, we'll be ready. Not just with weapons or shields, but with understanding. We'll show them what they've been fighting against all along, the natural evolution of consciousness itself. As Sarah's consciousness returned to her body, bringing with it knowledge that would advance their research by decades, James realized that humanity's greatest victory hadn't been defeating the alien fleet. It had been proving that understanding would always triumph over control, that consciousness could evolve without being lost, and that the universe held wonders beyond anything they had imagined. The counterstrike against the Empire wouldn't be fought with ships or weapons. It would be fought with knowledge, understanding, and the unique human ability to bridge worlds that their enemies had thought forever separated. Victory and revelation. The quantum observatories scattered throughout the solar system detected the Empire's return exactly as predicted. This time, they came not with a fleet of thousands, but with millions of ships, enough to darken the space between stars. But Earth was ready, not with weapons, but with understanding. Dr. James Chen stood in the Global Defense Center, surrounded by both physical and quantum interfaces. Around him, hundreds of humans worked in perfect synchronization with their quantum-transcended colleagues, their consciousnesses existing in both states simultaneously thanks to the breakthroughs of the past year. They're broadcasting their demands, a communications officer announced. The Empire's message boomed through the chamber, arrogant and absolute. Primitive species, your corruption of the quantum realm ends now. Surrender your quantum technology and submit to purification or face extinction. You have one planetary rotation to comply. James smiled, remembering similar threats before their first encounter. He opened a channel, but it wasn't just his voice that responded. Every human who had achieved quantum resonance joined in, their combined consciousness creating a harmony that made the Empire's rigid transmission seem hollow in comparison. We decline your offer, they said as one. But we extend an invitation of our own. Across the solar system, quantum consciousness pods activated. Thousands of humans who had trained for this moment began their transition, not to flee their bodies, but to demonstrate the bridge humanity had created between realms. Their consciousness expanded into the quantum field while maintaining their physical forms, creating a resonance that the Empire's sensors couldn't ignore. The alien refugees who had helped humanity perfect this technique added their own consciousness patterns to the demonstration. The quantum field itself seemed to sing with the harmony of unified understanding, physical and quantum states existing in perfect balance. Impossible! The Empire's next transmission carried an edge of fear. The quantum realm cannot be bridged. Consciousness must be controlled, contained, regulated. Watch, James broadcast back, as humanity demonstrated exactly how wrong they were. The quantum consciousness pods continued to activate in sequence, each successful transition adding to the growing resonance. But unlike the Empire's rigid technology, this was no weapon. It was simply truth made manifest. The Empire's fleet opened fire, their quantum-based weapons launching with enough power to shatter planets. But humanity had learned from Maya's sacrifice and Sarah's experiments. The attacks passed harmlessly through Earth's quantum-hardened defenses, their energy absorbed and redistributed through the consciousness network humanity had created. You don't need to destroy us, the unified human consciousness broadcast. You don't need to fear this evolution. Let us show you what you've been fighting against all these millennia. Through the quantum field, they share their understanding. Not just the scientific principles, but the experience itself. How consciousness could expand without being lost. How understanding could trump control. How existence itself was richer when viewed through both physical and quantum perspectives simultaneously. The effect rippled through the Empire's fleet. Their rigid quantum technology, designed to dominate and control, began to respond to the truth underlying reality itself. Ships started powering down as their crews, exposed to the quantum consciousness network for the first time, began to understand what their civilization had been suppressing for so long. Their weapons are deactivating, Sarah reported, her consciousness split between her physical form at the defense controls and her quantum presence in the field. We're detecting consciousness resonance patterns from within their fleet. They're beginning to transition on their own. The alien refugees moved closer to their former persecutors, offering guidance and support as more and more of the Empire's forces began to experience the quantum realm as it was meant to be experienced, not as a resource to be harvested, but as a fundamental aspect of existence itself. This is what the Empire feared, Maya's consciousness pattern observed. Not that we would fight them, but that we would show them a better way. That we would prove their entire civilization was built on a fundamental misunderstanding of reality. The invasion turned into something else entirely, not a war, but a mass awakening. Earth became not a battlefield, but a teaching ground, where humanity showed the galaxy that consciousness could evolve without being lost, that understanding would always triumph over control, and that the greatest power came not from domination, but from harmony. James watched as the Empire's fleet transformed from an invasion force into a gathering of seekers, their rigid quantum technology adapting and evolving as their consciousness expanded to embrace new possibilities. The alien refugees who had helped humanity were reunited with their people, no longer outcasts but pioneers who had seen the truth before their time. We should thank them. In a way, James mused to Maya's consciousness pattern. If they hadn't tried to destroy us, we might never have discovered this. Funny how often human advancement comes from facing extinction, Maya replied. But that's our true strength, not just surviving, but understanding. Taking what seems like a disadvantage and turning it into something revolutionary. The quantum field resonated with countless consciousness patterns now, human and alien alike, all learning to bridge the gap between physical and quantum existence. The empire that had sought to harvest consciousness was instead being transformed by it, their rigid hierarchy dissolving in the face of a deeper truth about reality itself. Earth's defenders stood down, their weapons unnecessary in the face of understanding. The greatest victory in human history had been won not through destruction, but through demonstration. Not through superiority, but through sharing. Not through power, but through comprehension. As the last of the Empire's ships powered down their weapons, their crews beginning their own journeys of quantum consciousness exploration, James thought about how far they'd come from that first desperate battle. They had faced extinction and found transcendence. They had confronted an empire and taught it to evolve. But most importantly, they had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in our technology or our weapons, but in our endless drive to understand, to question, to explore, and to share what we learned with others. In doing so, they hadn't just saved Earth, they had transformed the galaxy itself, one consciousness at a time.